Resealing pots that flow into the pool. I have 2 square clay pots on each end of the pool that is recirculated water flowing into the pool. The middle of each pot has a PVC pipe that pulls water from the pool. The water fills the pots, then overflows back into the pool. Arizona Sun has baked the sealant around the PVC, and when the pump starts, the pots fill, but the water runs out under the pot and into the yard. What product could I use to reseal the inner part of the pots to the PVC, and what are the steps to take? Thank you for your help with these water features.
So I think the biggest issue here is what the pots are made out of. Is it clay? Is it terracotta? Is it concrete? I'm assuming it's a clay product of some type. And if there's that much water leaking out, it's not going through the surface. It's going through either the joints to the seal. Likely what would happen, I kind of have to picture in my head how this would have been built. But likely a clay pot was either modified as a planting clay pot or made specifically for it. But what would have had to happen is through the bottom of the pot a hole would have had to been drilled or pre-poured that way, and some type of a fitting that would seal the water on the inside and then run down back to your equipment. So water comes out, it goes up into the clay pot through some type of a fitting. And then in that fitting, then maybe you have a piece of pipe that comes up to fill up more or something. But likely where that is leaking is at that fitting. And I think you'd probably want to do some investigating and say, and figure out where exactly is the water coming from. If you're just seeing it running underneath, likely it's going to be a plumbing issue and not so much of a clay pot issue. If there's cracks in the clay pot or there's deterioration in the clay pot, that's a different story. So I don't think that it's just a matter of putting some type of sealant on it, although you may want to seal the inside of the pot itself as well. A good strong 2-part epoxy that's designed to work in clay would be easy enough to find on the internet, I would imagine. But I'm guessing that likely you have a rubber gasket failure, something else in there. And you may have to modify, if you can't get that all apart, you may have to modify the bottom of that and seal it somehow with concrete or something. I know in my head what I'm seeing, what I'm thinking it might be, but unless I saw pictures of the specifics, I would look at seals versus the clay itself leaking.
What if the clay is leaking? Do I have to replace it, or is there something like concrete that could be added to stop leaking?
You could probably, if that's the case, if in fact the clay has deteriorated and somehow out of the bottom of the pot it's leaking there, refractory cements, which are good for high temperatures and high strength, hydraulic cements, which are fast drying, good for high strength. It could be patched. What we've done in the past when we've had features like that they filled up with water and then spilled over, if there was a problem in the bottom of the feature itself, I would often extend the plumbing up and fill the whole bottom half of it with concrete. Something that then the water could flow up through, and now instead of it filling up 12 inches of water before it flows over, maybe it only fills up 6 inches of water because you have concrete underneath there. And you might be able to modify the unit, whatever the clay pot itself, by filling it up with the concrete to a point so that then the water, but you'd have to extend that plumbing up probably to do that. I don't want you just dumping concrete in there if the water can't come out, but you might be able to put some type of an extension on the plumbing that's there and then pour concrete around the base. And that would oftentimes seal and prevent water from getting down there. It would be another possible solution.